Hello, this is David with Ag Economic Insights, uh, talking about the Ag Forecast Network and the premium and what we can learn in light of today's USDA August WASDE report. It's a big day, a lot of numbers dropped. The corn yield and the soybean yield is what's on everyone's mind, and wanted to talk a little bit about that. So, the USDA came out and said that in this report and estimated the corn yield at 181.8. It brought it in at 53.3 for soybeans. We had two ad hoc, or I guess flash questions. We opened them up about a week before the report. We asked the probability of the WASDE report estimating corn yields at or above 180 bushels per acre. My forecast was at 85% chance of occurring. If you turn on the consensus, you can see that that was about 83% for the consensus. And my ranking, so I had the forecast go in the right direction, but my percentile rank said at 57% says about 43% of all other users had a better forecast. And so when I looked at the data on the backside, a majority of forecasters came in with a probability above 50%. In fact, between 90 and 95% was a very common spot for users to log forecasts. And so we had sort of a big tie at the top of the leaderboard. If you were to uh, have a forecast percentile rank above 70%, your score would have been in the top three rankings. And so that was interesting to see that play out. A lot of people expected this and they had quite a bit of confidence around that. Interestingly, no one put down 100%. So it was very interesting to see the details on that. So you want to compare and look at your results. Here's the soybeans. We asked about the probability of being at or above 51 bushels. USDA came in at 53 in the third. Everything was shifted a little bit lower here. My forecast was at 65%. The consensus was at 62. My score was at the 33rd percentile, meaning 2/3 of the forecasters had a better forecast than me. There were a lot less confidence in this question, and several users had some fairly low forecasts, which brought that consensus down. And so we always have to keep in mind, the difference between an average and the distribution. And so that's important to keep in mind. I think this is a really important place to think back about the importance of asking good questions. For these types of reports, it's really tempting for us and for traders, us as individuals and the traders, to all throw out a point estimate as to what we think the USDA's going to come out with as a number. And it's really sort of throwing darts into the air and seeing where they land, because once I put a number on a paper, so if I said, I think the USDA number is going to be 181.5, unless the USDA comes in right near that number, I can't really learn a lot from myself, or I can't really learn from how well I did in my expectations. But framing this question, this uncertainty, and the methods that we use in the Ag Forecast Network in the tool, it allows you to start to benchmark and compare yourselves. And so these questions were designed so we're all on the same page and we're giving our responses in a way that we can stack up and compare. One of the things that I've taken away from these two questions is I thought I had some pretty solid forecasts, and I was very happy. I guess I was very eager to go see how well I did, given I had a forecast that was going in the right direction. But this reminded me that my forecasts weren't as accurate as others were forecasting. And so we got to keep in mind that sometimes we have to keep in mind that in the reviewing process of how we did, there is one, how did my question do? How was my thinking? And so in this case, I was headed the right direction in both cases. The second part is, how did I do relative to others? And that's what this percentile ranking is telling us, is how we did relative to others. So one way of thinking about this is that we might be running a race, and we might have ran the fastest we've ever ran in our life. We might have broken a world record. Okay, and so we feel really confident about that. But if the two people we're running with also ran a little bit faster than us, and they also broke and set new world records for the 100-meter dash, we still got third place. And so we have to keep that in mind. We might have done our absolute best and broke historic records, but we have to keep in mind how others were doing relative to us. So these are two questions. I think it's helpful to average our performance across these two questions to get an idea of how our thinking was going into this report. I wrote up a short summary. You can take a look at that. And as I introduce our artificial intelligence bots, the Lomez and the Bob Sacamano, and you can see how they did and how their performance was, and learn a little bit more about that. So again, David with the Ag Forecast Network reviewing the WASDE report, and there's a lot of data, but we wanted to circle back and talk about the consensus, how our scores did, and what we can learn from that. Thanks so much. Catch you next time.